everyone out in Revolution Land, I would like to welcome a man who, in fact, needs no introduction. He is Georges Kern, a legend in the watch industry. For those of you who are fans of his, you know very well that he transformed a dusky, anachronistic instrument like brand named IWC into one of the world's hottest lifestyle watch brands by applying all the modern communication rules to it and innovating quite a few of them, including some incredible product placement in movies, such as in the Bourne franchise and so on. And then since 2017, he's been applying the same magic to Breitling and has been creating cooler and cooler watches, one of which he's going to talk about today because he's going to donate to us this watch for our COVID solidarity auction. So there you have it on his wrist. It is his Navitimer Pan Am edition on an AirRacer bracelet, which incidentally, that combination is phenomenal. And I love the combination of the dial, which really reminds me of the golden age of air travel in the late 50s and the 60s when, you know, like Pan Am had the 747, you know, double decker with the incredible first class with the lounge, civilization, and then on this beautiful AirRacer bracelet, which reminds me of something from the 60s as well, something like you would imagine Paul Newman or Steve McQueen would wear their watch on as well. So, but first of all, George, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank God the markets are reopening step by step. So we are coming back to normal in many countries, and first signs are actually quite positive. China is doing extremely well. A couple of European countries are doing extremely well, like Germany. Obviously, it also depends on how you were impacted. Obviously, Germany was less impacted, or I should say they reacted better than other countries to fight the virus, so that they come out of the crisis, I think, with a better mental attitude of the consumers, and the consumers have a better consumption, I would say, attitude than some countries, which, like Spain, for instance, which were affected in a much harder way. So I would say, hopefully, you know, we're getting more and more to normal, and what I'm really looking forward is the reopening of the American market. But I think that will be also a difficult and anyway, a decentralized reopening. I mean, New York reopened this morning, but in a very restricted way. So let's hope for the best, and above all, let's hope that there will be no such thing as a second wave, etc., and that the hygiene rules, which I think are probably the single most important influential factors, will be kept by all of us in order to avoid, you know, a second wave.
I gotta commend you also, because you did essentially the launch of your 3 new watches online. You did it through a video conference, right? And when you line in the much anticipated Chronomat, everyone was waiting for that watch. You absolutely smashed it with that. I'd never seen, even Shame on Wrist was complimenting you, if I'm not mistaken. there you go, right? Which trust me.
I knew what you were talking about, so I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
And I love the Super Ocean. I have to say, in particular, I love this beautiful rainbow edition, which the message of that is probably more relevant now than ever when you think about unity.
Yeah.
You know, tell me a little bit about will you go back to staging the kind of shows that you were doing before, or do you think video conferencing is kind of the future, or is it a combination?
I think in history, this will be a milestone of digitalization. I would say for the wide population. We all used at school, you know, our children, video conferences, Zoom, team meetings, etc., etc. And I think what also home office, I don't think we will ever be able to tell a new young employee, oh, by the way, you cannot do a home office in our company. I mean, it has been working for 3 months, right? And the whole world. So I think this is really a milestone. But on the other side, humankind is as it is, and we are a species which needs social contact. And I think anybody is happy to be out of the confinement. Everybody is happy to go back to restaurants. Everybody is happy to go into a store to buy a watch and to have the 360 experience. And I think I will be happy to hold events again, to interact with consumers, with journalists, with partners physically, because this is this is humanity, right? This is our behavior, and I hope we will go back to some to this normal way of interacting between human beings with all the measurements, hygiene measurements, which are necessary.
Well, thank you, George. That's, I think, a great take on it. Now, I just wanted to mention, earlier you were discussing about the recovery and the reopening in a lot of the different countries in the world. And I think that this is true in particular for the first world countries, but we still have quite a few countries. I think Brazil, if you look what's going on there, Peru, South Africa, where you're really starting to see the real sort of, peak of the crisis in these countries. And I think that it's important that we try to do what we can to, first of all, remind everyone that we're in it together. And second of all, try to direct funds or raise funds for these countries that have been affected. Tell me a little bit about your perspective on that, sir.
No, I fully agree. And by the way, as you know, we had the limited series on the rainbow, which was an incredible, also for me, super surprising success. And we launched a second series of 1,000 pieces, but this time with a blue dial and with a blue ceramic bezel. And we're going to give at least $600,000 US to a couple of institutions supporting health personnel in some strongly affected countries, like for instance the UK. And as you know, the rainbow color did represent the NHS, the National Health System in the UK, and we're supporting a couple of countries with these funds. And of course, these guys were at the front line. They had to inhale, and this is why many of these persons became sick also, because they were confronted with all these viruses, this massive amount of viruses. In many countries, you didn't have this, this equipment, the security equipment, not enough masks, not enough isolation material, etc., etc. So I think these guys deserve our support and gratefulness because they did an incredible job and dangerous for themselves.
Absolutely. And George, tell us a little bit about the watch that you'll be donating. I know it's your personal watch, and I know that it's got a prototype bracelet on it. It really is like a unique piece.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to take it off your wrist.
So, I mean, it's destiny. I found that I love that bracelet. And when we thought about this capsule collection with the Pan Am, the TWA, and the Swiss Air, I discovered that bracelet, which funnily enough was also worn by Serge Gainsbourg, for instance, very famous French musician, and Miles Davis. And I thought it was fitting perfectly, that idea also of the Pan Am, the good old days of flying, or the movie, like I like movie Catch Me If You Can, Leonardo DiCaprio and all that stuff. And I just loved it. And I asked my team, my product department, to put that, this is a prototype, to put that prototype on that watch. And since that time, I'm wearing it. And we had many requests. So I think we produced 40 or 50 of these bracelets, these bangles. Actually, it's a bangle, because I can show it to you. It's quite
so cool.
It's really cool, and it has such as its distinctive look. So the Navitimer per se is distinctive. Then the Pan Am look, with the colors, and this AirRacer is so distinctive. And well, it was worn by the boss for many months. It's a unique piece, and and it became famous because of our summit, our digital summit, which, as I said, was seen by 2.5 million people. So here we are, and I'm happy that this can contribute to your project.
We're incredibly honored, George. It's such a nice gesture. And there you guys go. It's a close-up of Georges Kern's personal Navitimer 43 with the B01 in-house vertical clutch automatic column wheel movement on the AirRacer bracelet, which was a style that he thought up of. And this is, as he mentioned, it was a bracelet that was worn by Miles Davis, by Serge Gainsbourg, really men of extraordinary style, and combined with his personal watch. And incidentally, this watch was viewed by 2.5 million people when he was doing his presentation. That's amazing. George, we got to thank you so much, my man.
Thank you. Great project and great initiative. So congratulations, and I hope it will be super successful.
Thank you, sir. And wishing you all the very best, and hope we can catch up in person soon.
Absolutely.
Take care, brother. Bye.